And as you may understand, Global Azure is a global event that features a worldwide community of IT professionals coming together to learn about Microsoft Azure. So, if you had listened very well across the globe, starting yesterday, today, and tomorrow is going to be filled with the Global Azure Bootcamp globally. So, this is brought to you by the Azure Nigeria community, Nigeria, West Africa. So, we hope that you have a nice time joining us or listening to us. If you haven't, maybe if you don't have the link yet, we are going to share the link. We have shared the link already across our WhatsApp platform, even on our social media. So you can look for it and join. And also, do not forget to invite your friends and relatives to join us and learn. So I will be bringing up the first speaker, and before then, I would like to introduce some of the topics we have. As you can see from my background, we have about uh, four sections, and the first one will be about Defender for Cloud, a security tool that helps us to analyze our workloads. So the second one section, which will be about infra as code, and then the third one will be an autonomous cloud. Then the last one will be a roundtable discussion featuring the community leaders and all that. So I will be bringing up the first speaker in the person of Emmanuel Itoje. And Emmanuel Itoje is an MVP, is a Microsoft MVP in the business application category, Microsoft 365 category, right? So he's an experienced cloud engineer, cloud security engineer, and it's someone I've known for many years, and he's a very reliable speaker, and I can count on him to deliver a very um, uh, great sections, and all of us will really learn from him, from his wealth of experience. Emmanuel, how are you doing today?
Very well, Imo. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be back after 1 year again here for this
Yes.
Global AI Bootcamp. Yeah,
Okay, nice to have you.
thank
So
you.
I will pick up my pen and papers and listen to you to learn. Thank you, Emmanuel. The floor is yours. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Let me
Well,
quickly share my screen so we can get started. Please help me confirm you can see my screen.
Um, yeah, bringing that up now. Okay, your screen is up.
All right, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
thank everyone for joining us for the this year Global Azure Bootcamp. Today, I'll be the first speaker for today's session, delivering a topic on Defender for Cloud, a security tool for your workload. So, just Ima has already introduced me. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm also an MCT community lead for Nigeria and West Africa, one of the community lead. I'm a technical architect, it's cloud security architect. I'm also one of the community lead for the Nigerian Research community, and also the co-lead for the Nigeria security Microsoft security community. I'm a mentor to in each of those community, as well as a mentor with Platform Explorer. I have close to a decade of experience in IT. So I'm very big on Microsoft certification. These are some of the certifications I have so far in the Microsoft space. So today we'll be looking into overview of Defender for Cloud. We'll also look at capabilities of Defender for Cloud. Then we'll look at a particular topic talking about secure score, as well as assess compliance against security frameworks. Then we'll have a bit of a demo if time permits. So what is Defender for Cloud? Defender for Cloud is actually a cloud native application protection platform, CNAPP, that includes security measures and practices, and it is designed to protect cloud-based application from various cyber threats and vulnerability. So Microsoft introduced this solution as actually Azure Security Center before it was renamed, and a lot of capabilities were added to the solution, and the demo will be able to see more about that. So what are some of the capabilities of Defender for Cloud? So for Defender for Cloud, one of the capabilities that it includes a development security operations solution, which is a DevSecOps solution that unifies security management at the code level across multi-cloud and multiple pipeline environments. So for a DevOps engineer that is running pipelines, right? If you want your pipeline to be more secure, the solution that Microsoft has provided is a Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which helps you with this DevSecOps in the entire process. Another capability is it is a cloud security posture management (CSPM) solution that that surfaces actions that you can take to prevent breaches. The idea behind Defender for Cloud, generally from Microsoft, is that it's a proactive tool. So before vulnerability, before any breaches, this solution will actually help you to prevent these breaches. Another capability that we have for this solution is a cloud workload protection platform, right? CWPP, with specific protections. Either you're talking about servers, you're talking about containers, you're talking about storage, you're talking about databases. So this solution is actually available for you to help you with your cloud protection cloud workload protection platform. And generally, if you look at some of the pricing for this particular solution, the Defender for Cloud as a solution itself has different pricing. So depending on what you actually want to achieve with the solution, it will tell you the prices that you can actually basically enable for your solution. Again, for the solution generally, right, it's available for us to help us protect, do an holistic protection of all our servers, our containers, our storage, our databases. Is also there to help us prevent vulnerability as well as protect each of these cloud platform. And beyond just the Azure cloud itself, Defender for Cloud is also available. You can actually integrate your AWS environment, your GCP environment, even your on-prem environments, and this solution is there to help you to protect those environments. So let's look at one of the capabilities that this solution offers, talking about secure scope. Because we mentioned that Defender for Cloud is a cloud security posture management. How it does that work is through the secure scope. So the Microsoft Defender for Cloud has two main goals. The first goal is to help you understand your current security situation in this tenant, in our environment, or in our platform. What is our current security solution? This solution will actually help you to understand it with the help of the secure scope for you. Then the second is to help you efficiently and also effectively improve your security. So meaning that the solution offers that capability to improve your security, because at the end of the day, you want to focus on ensuring that your cloud platform is more secure. So and the central feature in Defender for Clouds that actually enables you to achieve these two goals is all called the secure scope. Now, Defender for Cloud continually assess your cross-cloud resources for security issues. Then it then aggregates all the findings into a single score so that you can tell at a glance your current security situation, and the higher the score, the lower the identifier risk level. And for Azure itself, the Azure portal pages, what it does that the secure score is shown as a percentage value, like from this picture that you have here. So it will show you, okay, this is the current secure score, and the higher the score, the lower your risk value. Then how is your secure score calculated? Basically, so to actually increase your security for your environment, it's very important that you review the Defender for Cloud recommendation page and remediate the recommendations by implementing remediations instructions for each issues. And recommendations are actually grouped into security control, and each control is actually like a logical group of related security recommendation, and it reflects your vulnerable attack surfaces. So if you have any attack surfaces that are actually vulnerable, the recommendation page will actually show that to you. And your security only improves when you remediate all of the recommendations for a single resource within a control. And to see how well your organization is actually is secure, in terms of individual attack surfaces, it's very important that you review each of the score for the security controls. And to get all the possible points for security control, all of your resources must comply with all of the security recommendations within any of the security control. For example, now the Defender for Cloud has multiple recommendations regarding how to secure your management ports. You need to actually remediate all to make a difference in terms of your secure score. Then, in order to actually improve your secure score, basically, you have to remediate the security recommendations from the recommendation list, and you can remediate each of the recommendation manually for each resource, or you can also use, there's an option called the fix options, which is also available to resolve an issue on multiple resources quickly. And you can also configure and enforce and also deny options on relevant and recommendations to improve your score and make sure that users don't create resources that are negatively impacting your scores. Then another feature that we'll look at is the access compliance against security framework. Now, for this, Microsoft Defender for Cloud helps streamline the process for meeting regulatory compliance requirements using the regulatory compliance dashboard. Now, the idea behind this is that the Defender for Cloud continuously assess your hybrid cloud environment to analyze the risk factors according to the controls and the best practices in standards that you have applied to your subscriptions. So depending on the industry you are, maybe for example, you are in the financial industry, in the healthcare industry and all that. So depending on those industry, each of those industry actually have their controls. And when you actually enable the Defender for Cloud on an Azure subscription, the Microsoft Cloud security benchmark is automatically assigned to that subscription. And any widely respected benchmark is built on control from either, if you look at the Center for Internet Security, CIS, that's one control that is available. Then the payment card industry, the PCI, then data security standard, that's the DSS. So that is actually another control. Then if you also look at maybe the National Institute of Standard and Technology, the NIST framework also. So all this, they focus on the cloud-centric security because they are all there to basically ensure that your cloud environment is actually secure. And at the dashboard, basically, it reflects the status of your compliance. You're going to see all this in the demo. And the regulatory compliance dashboard shows the status of all the assessments within your environment for any chosen standard or any chosen regulations that you've actually selected.
Hi, Emmanuel. I just want to draw your attention to some comment on the chat.
Okay.
Can you turn off the notification of your phone? Apologies. I did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Let me check. Thank you. So as you act on the recommendations and reduce the risk factor in your environment, your compliance posture basically reduce. And one of the things that Microsoft have done over the years is to ensure that any compliance data from the Defender for Cloud now can seamlessly integrate with Microsoft's Purview Compliance Manager. So with the Microsoft Purview, you can actually integrate it with the Defender for Cloud, allowing you to centrally assess and manage the compliance across your organization's entire data estate. And whenever you add any standard to your compliance dashboard, standard including maybe compliance standard that is monitoring other cloud platform like either the AWS or the GCP, what happens is that the resource level compliance data is automatically surfaced in the compliance manager for the same standard. So basically, the compliance manager provide and implement actions and status across your cloud infrastructure and other digital assets with this centralized tool. So let's get into some demo, and I'll stop sharing my screen so I can jump into the demo. So in the demonstration, we want to look at overview of the cloud and Defender for Cloud itself, look at the secure score, then check the investigation, regulation, and remediations also. So if you go to the Azure portal, so from the Azure portal, so because I've recently opened it, it's showing here. If you can type Defender for Cloud here, it's going to actually bring it up for you. Or another way is to go to the menu here, and if you scroll down, you're going to see Microsoft Defender for Cloud here. So now the overview section of the Defender for Cloud basically shows how many subscriptions you currently have in the tenant, and also how many resources do you have? Is there any attack paths, for example? Now for Defender for Cloud, if you can see, if I actually collapse this blade, for example, now it has three main blade. The first one is a general blade, the cloud security, and as well as the management blade. Now, if I drop down this management blade, for example, now, and the first thing I go to the environment settings. Now, with the help of the environment settings, we're able to see, okay, we can add environments. So based on what I currently have in my organization, do I have resources on Amazon Web Services? Do you have resources on Google Cloud Platforms? Do you have resources on GitHub or even Azure DevOps? With this, with environment settings, I'll be able to configure, meaning that I can add those environments in my Defender for Cloud, and I will be able to use Defender for Cloud to actually monitor those environments, basically. If you still go through this, you'll be able to see that we can create things around governance rule. We can create data sensitivity for the organization. We can even do a direct onboarding for the Defender for Cloud, right? These are not to show us where it all started. If you scroll down here, you'll be able to see, okay, where are the subscriptions I have? So currently, I have two subscriptions on that is currently onboarded on the tenant for Defender for Cloud, and each of the subscription, it tells me that I have different plans for each of the subscription. For example, if I click on this now, it will take me into the Defender plans that I currently have for the subscriptions. So I'll be able to see, okay, are there any plans that are currently turned on for this subscription? So for this now, I have a plan on Defender CSP, which is currently on. I have the foundational CSP, which is actually like, it is available for all the tenants for free. You don't pay for that. But if you're going to get other features, then basically you have to basically turn any of those plans on. And if you scroll down, so in a situation whereby you have servers, you have app service, you have database, storage, containers. So based on what you want for your organization, you can turn any of those plans on for that particular subscriptions. And in a situation whereby you have multiple subscriptions, like I do for my environment, I can choose, okay, these are the subscriptions that I want to use. Now, for these other subscriptions, for example, now, I only have one plan turned on for this subscription. That's why it's showing me on the dashboard that this plan is currently turned on, while the other ones is actually turned off for this subscription. So the journey actually starts from the environment, because based on what your business requirements or your organization requirement is, it will determine the plan that you want to basically turn on or turn off for you. Then we have the security policies here that can actually be created. So you can actually create security policies for your organization. So based on the business requirements also, that will also determine, okay, which are the policies based on, do I need to turn on, do I need to turn off? Like for example, now you can go through each of those policy. You'll be able to see that some policies, most of the policies are actually turned off. So let's say in my organization is to be turned on, for example, now for this particular subscription, right? So what it means, it will tell me that there are other information that I need to provide for the subscriptions. Things around I want to check the operation name. Okay, what are the operation name? I'll be able to select. So the parameters that are needed, and also all this has to be filled. Once this, those information, automatically that framework will be a particular framework to actually manage and monitor my organizations. So if it can go through the whole framework, depending on the country, we have the Sapiens OX Acts. For example, we have the ISO 27001 also that is always there. So different can actually turn on, and those are the things that the Defender Cloud will add resources on the environment to show that if those resources are actually meeting those standard requirements. And instead of even using maybe a third-party CASB, a cloud security posture management like this, everything is available for you with these particular solutions within the tenant. For you, just all you have to do is to turn them on or you turn it off based on your requirements. And in terms of recommendation also, it provides different recommendations across board, different recommendations for that you can actually leverage on for your organizations in order to protect those resources. I'm going to go back to the home. So under cloud security, I want to show us the secure score. So if you check under cloud security, if you click on security posture, so the security posture will actually shows you your current total score. So for this tenant, for this environment now, the total secure score is sitting at 26%. And I mentioned that in the presentation that the higher the score, the lower your risk level. So that means that for this tenant, now it has is an high risk environment because the resources are not protected based on recommendations that have not been followed. Now, for this, if you go down and be able to see for each of the subscriptions, it tells me, okay, for this is 37%, for this is 20%. So it takes the average of each of those scores, and it tells me here the number of unhealthy resources I have. For this particular subscription now, 8 of the 10 of the resources are unhealthy. Why for this now? It tells me that 11th or the 13th of the resources is not healthy. If I click on the view recommendations here, for example, so it's going to show me different recommendations. So again, it will still first of all bring up each of the environments. So for this tenants, for example, I only have Azure subscription. I've not connected either AWS or GCP or GitHub to it. All the resources are currently on Azure. If I scroll down, this is covering. Let me bring this on a wider screen. Let me stop sharing and bring on a wider screen.
Hi, Manuel. We lost you. Are you
Yes, I want to reshare.
okay?
I want to reshare this screen.
Okay.
All right, please confirm you can see my screen. All right, awesome, thank you. So for this now, so it gives me different resources based on their risk level, right? The ones that are critical, the one that has high risk, the one that has medium risk, the one that has low risk. And one beautiful thing that this does for us is that you can easily go into the recommendations, right? From the recommendation page, it will tell you what to actually do, the kind of actions that you need to take. Inside the recommendation now, for example, it tells me, okay, this is the resources that have an issue. It gives me a description of what all the resources is basically all about. So any actions that I need to take, it suggests an action to take care. So it tells me that I need to use a role-based access control based on this guide here. So when I follow the guide, I'll be able to, fix that recommendation. And what that does automatically is that it increases the secure score for the tenant. And again, if I go through any of those resources again, So let me pick one of the I resource for this, for example. Right, so for this resource now, it gives me the remediation steps here. So what I need to do is just to follow these remediation steps here. Once I follow it, I can increase the secure score. And if there is in a situation whereby maybe I want to assign this particular task to somebody in the team, right? Maybe we're a team of 5 security admin. I'm the lead of the team. I can actually assign this task to one of the team member, assigned to the person. Then I'll be able to also set a duty that, oh, this particular action should be taken by this so date, basically. Then in a situation whereby I have maybe a third party too that is doing some of the work that I don't want to use the Defender for Cloud, for example. Now I can actually basically exempt this. Why? Because I already have a third party too that is actually taking care of that particular action for me in my organization. Let me go back to how to pick this other subscriptions. Let me pick a recommendation. Sorry about the notification sign. I don't know why. I've been trying to mute it. I don't know where it's coming from. It's not from my phone. My phone is actually silent. It's speaking from my system. All right. So for this now, it tells me, okay, this is, say Azure over provisional identity should have only the necessary permission. So for one of those user now, so this user has I can actually perform a remediation action for this user by following the remediation steps here for that user. Awesome. So let's go down to the other one that we mentioned, which is the regulatory compliance. Now, for regulatory compliance, now we are looking at based on the industry that our organization is currently working on. So for each of the industry, we have some Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. We also have the Azure Cloud Security Posture Management. So based on what the industry is basically about. So for the Azure CSPM, for example, now we have the assessment here. So it tells me that there is permission for inactive identity in your subscriptions, right? So the organization or the tenant is not meeting that particular requirement. If you start from this cloud security benchmark, for example, so we have different compliance control that are actually not meeting the regulatory requirement. Like for example, now if I look at this on network security, for example, now, so before this can actually show a green for us, that means every of the control must actually be met. For example, now it says establish network segmentation boundaries. So if you look at the control details for this particular one, so it will tell me, okay, there's an issue, there's a control based on the Microsoft Cloud Security benchmark NX1, and this is not currently meeting the requirement. So it gives me an idea of the actions that I can take. So based on the actions, it says all network ports should be restricted on network security groups. So I'll be able to carry out that particular action on that particular resource that is being flagged for this particular regulatory requirement. So the solution is also there to ensure that you are meeting different regulatory requirements. Also, if you look at under the identity management, for example, now, so for the identity management, it's telling me that I should use a centralized identity and authentication system. If I click on this control details for this now, so it tells me, okay, this is also not meeting the same thing, and it mentioned the domain also. Then for the actions as well, so the action tells, okay, these are some of the things that are actually not currently meeting this particular control. This is a preview action that Microsoft is currently working on for this particular one. So that's it for regulatory compliance. Then the other one is for our workload protections. So based on the workloads that we currently have in the tenants, the workload protection helps to protect them generally. So for these tenants, it's just a testing environment that I have. So then I have VM vulnerability assessment that are not protected. If I click on this, so it tells me that machines should have a vulnerability assessment solution. So for this machine, if I click on the machine, so for the initial access, I can click on the initial access. I'll be able to see different things I can actually do a further research on. Let me go back to the machine itself. So these are the two VMs that are currently being flagged. So if I select this, for example, so we have the option to fix this. So to fix this, this actually gives you either it gives you a suggested fix that you can actually, it actually fixes automatically for you. You don't need to do anything for that. So if I have the required subscription, either Defender for cloud, for server, for example, now it's going to actually fix that for me. So to enable an integrated vulnerability scanner, all selected results should be onboarded to. So because the resources have not been onboarded to Defender for server, I've not onboarded it, I will not be able to use that fix control. So the fix control is basically to do an automatic fix for that particular resource. Then we also have the DevOps security for us. So for our DevOps security, the first thing first that we need to do is to actually connect a DevOps environment. So if I have a DevOps environment, for example, now I'll need to connect it. And this same solution will actually help to basically help us to secure our pipeline. Either we're using Azure DevOps action configuration or we are using a GitHub action configuration here. It's going to actually help us to basically configure the pipeline. Then around data and AI security too now, of course, we are being in the age of AI, and AI is feeding on data. So there's also need for us to secure data and AI. And in securing data and AI, the Defender for Cloud is also there to actually help us to secure those systems. And we can basically, it tells, okay, these are the storage assets that we have. These are the managed database that we have. These are the number of AI services. I know I have deployed some AI services in the past. So to show you different AI services that you have. So you can basically query with any of the solutions. So the solution has an inbuilt capability for you, depending on where your AI solution are hosted, whether they are hosted on a Kubernetes cluster or you have a key vault secret with it. You have an exposure SSL certificate as well. Yeah. So those are some of the other capabilities that this solution has. There's something I wanted to show us on security posture for around the AI. If I can see the resource.
Emmanuel, thank you very much. Your time is 1 minute left only.
All right. So thank you everyone for joining the session. I'll do a follow-up session on my YouTube channel. I'll share the link on some of those remediations. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time. Thank you for that wonderful section. It was an amazing section, and it's nice to have you share your knowledge with the community members. So right now we're going to bring in the second speaker, in the person of Folashade. Folashade, how you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So Folashade is a DevOps engineer, DevOps and cloud engineer, and she'll be speaking on the autonomous. She'll be speaking on. Let me bring up your flyer so we're able to be sure of your topic, please. So, Folashade will be speaking on infrastructure as code, making deployment easy with Azure DevOps best practices. So we hope to learn a lot on how you can use infrastructure as code and as well as Azure DevOps. So, Folashade, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much. I'll share my screen right now. Okay. All right. Um,
Your screen is showing up, but it's blank.
sorry, 1 minute, please. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you. Can anyone hear us as well?
Hello.
Roland,
Can
can
you
you
all
hear
hear
me?
me?
Can you hear us?
Oh shit. Where does it have to go?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Okay. So, Folashade, we can hear you. The audience can also hear you. So, okay, so maybe due to technical issue, we might need to call on the next speaker. So, Folashade, you can represent when you are fully up with when you fix the technical issues. Is that fine by you? Okay. I think it's up now. Okay. Can you hear us? Folashade,
Can
you
you hear
there?
me?
Yes, I can
Oh,
hear you.
okay. I'm not sure what happened. I think I have some internet issues. All right.
All
But is
right,
my
all right.
screen
Carry on
visible
now.
now?
Sure, it's
Oh,
visible. Yeah.
thanks. All right. So I'll just go ahead and present. All right. Thank you so much. Apologies for the delay. So good day, everyone. My name is Fola Shadi. I'm a cloud DevOps engineer. I've been in the tech space for about 4 years now. So I'll be talking about infrastructure as code, making deployment easy with Azure DevOps. Best- Um, so we'll be looking at the best practices using the Azure DevOps for our deployments. So so like I said, I'm a cloud engineer with about 4 years of experience in the IT infrastructure space. And aside doing IT, I'm passionate about community building, and I advocate for women in tech. It's like that's the passion for me actually. So why we are here today is to discuss um how infrastructure deployment is done. And so currently what our challenges right now is we understand how much manual deployment can be very strenuous. So usually when you're trying to like deploy resources on Azure, so I'm going to give an instance that um, you want to deploy some virtual machines with some particular configuration details, maybe the VM size, the location, and all of that, and you have to do it for um, multiple, or let me say about 100 or thousands of them, and then you have to do this manually. You know how tedious that will be. In fact, it will be so stressful for you to do it because you'll be tired by the time you start with one or two or three. So, however, when infrastructure as code comes in, it makes life easy. It makes what what you're going to be doing, make it fun. So the infrastructure as code removes the ability to take time, to be slow on a particular deployment, and it removes errors. Humans can make mistakes, yeah, and it's not so easy to deploy or start creating or deploying a virtual machine or over 100 of it. So the solution here is using infrastructure as code. Yeah, so today we'll be discussing what infrastructure as code is, why it matters, how to use it in Azure DevOps, and the best practices to follow for smooth deployment. And okay, so what do we call infrastructure as code? What are we talking about since what we've mentioned infrastructure as code, and I'm very sure it is either if you are a beginner, you'll be wondering what that is, and if you're already in the cloud computing space or understanding, you have a bit of understanding of tech, I'm very sure you want to understand what infrastructure as code is, or probably you already have an idea and you want to have a clearer view. So the thing is, it's easier when you do this. So what would say is the process of you managing and provisioning your infrastructure through code and not being able to do all of this manually. So I want to believe that we have a little bit of understanding of where the Azure portal looks like. Yeah, so because we're not going to be doing a beginners kind of class today or section. So when you're on the Azure portal and you have to like deploy some databases, Azure VM, or whatever resource of stuff you're trying to do on Azure portal, and you have to be doing this manually and clicking going to click this on that on the portal. I mean the UI, the graphic user interface. You're that when you are doing all of this, it's easier when it's one, but it becomes very tedious or not manageable when it becomes you have to like scale up every single now and then. So but with infrastructure as code, it makes it very easy. So you being able to manage it and provisioning them through code without having to do this on the user interface makes it infrastructure as code. It means you have to like write some configuration file details to make sure that it deploys exactly what you want it to do. So now we have the declarative concepts we are going to be looking at with declarative configuration, and we have version control and repeatable and consistent environment. So what this means is, for example, using version control, it means just like your GitHub, you are able to control or track changes that are done to the code. So for I'm working on on the same code, and another person somewhere else is making the same some changes on that same code. The ability to be able to work on doing all of this together and you're able to track it on the Git is what we call the version control. So usually on Azure, we're going to get to the a point later in this section where we'll have to look how this is really like done and how you can track your changes. So now, so declarative configuration could mean that you have like a two-bedroom with a balcony. You're trying to like state exactly what your end goal is, like your desirable state. You're trying to say, I want a two-bedroom apartment with a balcony. I want some flowers in it, and you're stating exactly what you want in your house. So you're giving the instructions of okay, this is how it should look like. So I need you to deploy this as far as so it looks at your code and deploy exactly what you are you have actually stated. So then when it comes to being repeatable, it means that you can use this code over and over again in different environments. So in different companies, we have the development, we have staging. Some people have testing environment. Some people have UAT environments, SIT environments. I mean in system integration testing. So I don't want to use UAT means they have different environments. So to prod, to dev, to test, all this there are different environments that are usually used in different organizations. So some people have up to 5 different environments, some people have about 2 or 3. So however, you being able to use the same thing across different environments means it's repeatable. You are able to like reuse it when you deploy on one, you're able to use it again on the next one. Maybe you just need to make some modification if you like to do that. All right, so why does infrastructure as code matters? So as I was saying the other time, you're able to like repeat this, and the version control is very important. Track what was done, what has been done, what you're currently doing, everything. So you're able to even go back to a particular hash or commit. For example, you made a mistake on a particular this thing, you can easily go back because it has its own code or numbers. Usually a code numbers you can put to it where you're able to go back to it. Yeah, so it's kind of it's faster when you're using infrastructure as code to do all of these things. And the ability to be able to collaborate with other team members, developers, other cloud engineers, DevOps, and all the team, even project people. We have the project managers also. So we are able to manage all of this. So this gives why infrastructure as code is very, very important. Then we have the disaster recovery. So if you're in the cloud space for a while, you understand that disaster recovery is very important because you have to like get have a backup for yourself. So in case one of the environments is down, you're able to have something as backup. All right. So then these are kind of the tools that you'll be using frequently when it comes to infrastructure as code. So we have the Azure DevOps, which is like um, a kind of a all-in-one platform where you are able to do a whole lot of things. Your CI/CD pipelines, your repos, the bots, the artifact, everything is on this platform. So Azure DevOps have made it quite of easy for individuals or project or organizations or teams to be able to manage all of these stuff in one platform. It's more like your will I call it your cooking room where you're able to do everything and people just see the output outside, but they're not really seeing exactly what's inside. So it's where everybody comes together and you are able to do things together as a team or as an organization and all of that. So that's for Azure DevOps. Then we have the ARM template where um it's a kind of template used in Azure where you are able to like write some template. For example, trying to like write that okay, I want you to configure a particular um details. So you're giving it details like okay, you deploy your VM a particular region with a particular size. So when you do all of this, a template means you're able to reuse it. So usually they will say, I think we'll have to do the I think later in this presentation you have where we have some do's and the don'ts of what not to use. So usually a template should always be something that you're able to reuse and you're able to do later. So the ARM template gives you the kind of ability to be able to manage all of this together. Um, it's a template you're able to like use to configure or deploy easily on Azure. Then we have the Git. Git gives you the control. I think I've talked about that. It tracks all whatever your code is like. So we have Bicep. Bicep is it's easier than ARM template. I think it's because it's more friendlier. So when you see biceps, you're on Azure. I think I have to like share another slide of mine. Sorry, I think. Give me a minute. Let me do that. Okay, let me just go back there after I'm done with this. So when you have the bicep, it's easier because it's an easier syntax. You're able to read and write exactly how you want it. It's actually more friendlier than the ARM template, and you're able to also it's only mostly for only Azure. Yeah. So when we have Terraform, the Terraform is more of you're able to use it in different cloud environment, AWS, Azure, GCP. It's more of it's an open source actually, and it's more of something that work across different environments or multiple cloud providers. So it's I am when we have the Terraform, you have different modules and stuff like that as well. But anyway, we'll go onto this later. Then we have the infrastructure workflow. So the ability for you to be able to write out your template. So when you have um your configuration files where you're able to like write exactly on your code what you want to do, it means like having your code in different stages. In the code you have like different modules. When you have those different modules, you're able to state how your configuration should be built. You have them in different stages. For example, you could have your VM configuration details at the top. You want then maybe you want the networking part of it to come next, and so maybe the database. So all of this putting together, you're trying to alter out how your template should look like is what we are going to do first, how your pipeline should always look like. Then when you now push the code to Azure repo, that moves it from it's just more like your blueprint. When you have your blueprint, you push it the code to Azure repo, then you move next to trigger it. So whatever code or whatever you have put on your code, it triggers on Azure DevOps pipeline. So for example, you state that can you build, so when someone makes some changes or try to open a PR, maybe a pull request, or they try to merge to your main branch or master branch, whatever it is, you are able to, it triggers on Azure DevOps pipeline. So when it triggers on whatever your details you have given it, then it tries to validate it, and after validating it, it deploys it. Yeah. So this is a kind of a sample where we have like how the pipelines look like. So I was saying that, for example, you want to like push on your main branch. So whatever configuration, the way you stated it on your code, that is how it's going to really like work. So for example, on this one now, you have here where it says it triggers when you are on the main branch. So any changes made to the main branch, it triggers. So the configuration details have been put probably for you. In this image, we have Ubuntu. It could be Windows for you. It could be any other particular um, OS information you've put there. So whatever details of how you want your deployment should look like, just the way you deploy on the UI is also the same way you have it here. Just that you are doing all of this as a code instead, because it gives you the ability to be able to manage your to work it the way you want it. So there, where we have, you can see we have different stuff stated here. What location you should deploy to, the resource group name, the ARM connection, the scope, what should be done, what not should be done. So all of these are very, very like important when you're actually like stating out how your pipeline should look like, what should be done, and how to go about it. All right, so before I go to this one, I'd like to stop sharing this and share my um okay. Okay, so I guess my screen is still visible. Can someone confirm that?
Yes, it's visible. I just brought up the second screen now. Can you see the screen?
What? What
Your
did
screen
you say?
is visible now. I can see it.
Okay, you can on the Azure DevOps, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I was actually talking about how the Azure repo looks like. So this is like the interface. So usually when you have like okay, maybe you join a new organization and it might looks empty. If it's or probably if the organization already exists, you might have they might already have all of these kind of projects in the Azure repo, Azure DevOps rather. So because these are kind of my own tests that probably I actually did them some time ago. So for different projects, you're able to create, depending if you are the owner, So, or probably you are invited. So we are going to be having different roles that be given to you, right? So when you like create this, you can give it a name and description, and you state what you need to do, then you create. So whatever is done there. So now I'm going to help upon this. All right, so I'm just going to do a like a walkthrough of how the Azure DevOps look like and how it works together. So when you after doing your creation, after it has been created rather, you have description. That is if you want to, but it's very important. It can be good for people that are joining in on your team to have a bit of understanding what a particular project is about. Yeah. So we have the dashboard. This is where you can put in all the things you have. So you had a particular thing, even things you have started by yourself, you have it there. So now let's go to the board repos. So when you come to your repo, it's just more like your GitHub. You are able to see all the files that have been stated there, what is there, the readme, everything, just like developers. You know, when you go to GitHub, you see their codes stated of um the whatever information or files, different kind of files you see, as long as it gives out the output that is necessary for the people to see. So just like this on this repository now, we have like a git ignore, Azure Pipelines, YAML file. So now you see some things stated or configuration that have been done, what it should trigger on, the images done, and all of that. So if you are actually in an organization, you would make some pull requests because it has to be reviewed by somebody else, or maybe your lead, or whether maybe somebody older than you. I'm sorry, like a lead in your department or your organization to every review it. So just like you have in GitHub, you have your pushes, your PR, which is like PR, your branches. Then you have tag to be able to like identify which one is for this and which one is not for this. So the pull request here. So when you do create a pull request, it shows on your pod. So we have the pipelines where we have it shows what is going to be triggered. So now I click on this. It can, when you've done all the configuration, you'll be able to run your pipeline and to see if it's going to really like work. So so that's brief for me. I think I'll just take in some questions on that later on how we can deploy this. So let's go to the best practices of how we should do infrastructure as code with Azure DevOps. So when we breaking infrastructure code into reusable models, so usually I would say that on your code you should have different modules, meaning everything should be in different. How am I going to put it? Is it in boxes or not really boxes, but say you're able to put them together. So for example, in your first few lines, maybe line 1 to 10, you're saying, okay, this is my VM configuration details, code, and all of that. Then the next one is for the database, the next one is for the network. So you're putting them in different modules like that so that you're able to reuse it. You know, it is easier for when you want to reuse it for another day, maybe for another project, you're able to just copy out that particular line, maybe for database code, and just tweak it instead of you having to write it from the beginning to the end. Yeah. So when that we now store secrets in Azure Key Vault. So usually it's not even advisable at all for you to put in your secret in the code directly, because that is totally off, and I think it's unacceptable. I think in many organizations they won't even um in fact it won't even speak well as a DevOps engineer or a cloud engineer saying that you have secret open to others. Um had this kind of instruction. So you don't have secret opens to people are able to see the secrets in your code directly. So it's better to just keep them in a in Azure keep vaults where you are able to retrieve it whenever you need it. Then so usually when you're trying to deploy, it's necessary that you validate your template because the template is your first use. So as long as you're able to lint, so there's a word we call lint is going to run or not. Yeah. And when you're doing what if, so it's you like trying to deploy them and trying to make sure that is this thing really going to work if I finally like deploy it in my environment? It's more like a test. So you're trying to test if something is going to work or not. So then we have keep infrastructure code files and version control. This is because, for example, maybe because of due to error from humans, we make mistakes and all of that. You can easily go back to your last commit, or someone is trying to another person in the team is trying to make some modification, you can actually go back. So when we're able to track all of the team code changes, it makes work easier and it makes things easier to go back to when there are actually issues. So if something is wrong with a particular environment, you can easily say, okay, the last working environment was this. Let's just go back to that one because we know that one is working, but this one is not working. We can actually just push it aside and try to troubleshoot that later. While you are when you try to move back to your previous or the last one, so that the environment or the company or organization is functioning while you're trying to troubleshoot what the issue is going on. Then using server environments is very important too. So in like I said, I think I said it earlier, where we have different organizations have dev, testing, prod. Some people go ahead and have staging, SIT, UAT, prod environment. So people have about five. So it depends on the organization on how much they want to do a lot of progress or changes on different environments. So, but it's nice to have at least three. So where or some people do have to. It depends on how large or how much the organization really wants that to be, because it actually cost. It has to do with cost as well. So using the several separate environment for your for your dev testing or staging is very important. Then the ability to be able to automate deployment with approval gate from your leads, it's very also important. Then having to monitor deployment and set up alerts. So that, for example, in different at right now we have different deployment and set alerting system on Azure, where you're able to like Azure Monitor, you're able to um monitor some of the deployment, what is going on, and all of that. And you set up your alert to know when there are issues. Probably it needs to when a particular resources needs to get to a particular stage is not supposed to get to, or whatever alerting configuration you must have done, you get your alert for it. Then using the tagging and naming convention is making it easier for cost, and you're able to identify who owns this, who is using this, and all of that. So tagging and naming convention is very, very important when it comes to um infrastructure as code. So these are like the best practices for infrastructure as code. So some of the common mistakes that we need to like avoid is our coding values instead of using parameters or environment variables. So it's when you have your templates written down and you don't use parameters or environment variables, and you just put some stated values. So for example, you put in your you write a VM sizes, maybe F something, F series, and all of that. It means you're actually limiting that particular VM to only deploy it using that. So meaning that next time when you want to try to deploy again, you have to make use of another code and start doing that all over again. So why not make it something that is a template or parameters where you're able to reuse it all over again. Then trying to skip when you're trying to skip validation step before deployment, that could you don't know. So if for example you deploy it without validating or trying to lint it, it causes issue, because when you finally deploy it and you find out that it's not working, or probably it just brought down the whole environment, then you know how that can be so chaos, and everywhere everybody's up and down running, wondering what exactly what's going on, how to troubleshoot and all of that. So it puts everyone tense, and we don't want unnecessary stress here. So we need to like do all the validation before deployment. So also having a rollback plans are very important. When there are no rollback plans or processes put in place, then there's gonna be issue. So deploying directly to production without prior testing, I really do not even know what to say. If you do not do all of this testing before putting to production, then I don't know. It's going to be an issue, because imagine trying to like the organization is trying to like go to they're trying to reach out to a very important client, and they are trying to do a demo, and then you just deploy to production and everything just goes down. Everything goes down and everybody's wondering exactly what's going on, and they find out that it's from the DevOps team or something, and they're like, "Oh, really?" Then you have to come for a query. So it's actually very, in fact, it's not really advisable. You should deploy directly to production. Why would you even want to do that? So it's important that we understand that having to try to test locally, or trying to validate by linting, or trying to making sure everything is all right before deploying is very, very important. Then the inconsistent naming or missing resource tag here. So when we don't have this, it kind of causes issue when it comes to cost management, or you're trying to you if you don't put the correct or naming conversion on it, it causes issues later because of management, and you're not able to like confirm who uses this, how you start having to do more um investigation. But when you have the naming things, the naming convention stated, and the nice necessary taggings to every resources and resource group or whatever, subscriptions and all of that, when you have all of this done and well tagged, everything goes easy. So thank you so much, and do let me know if you have any questions.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for your presentation. I think there is question. Okay. We actually had some kudos there from the audience. So thank you very much, Folashade, for that wonderful presentation. Are you done?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, mind taking any questions now?
All right. I think there is no question on the chat, but I want to ask a question on behalf of the audience about the managing secret. You made mention of Azure pipeline. So what if I do not want to pass my secret through Azure Key Vault? I want everything to remain within the Azure pipeline environment. What kind of best
So,
practice can I go about that?
so there are different ways we can actually keep our secrets. So depending on what environment you're using. So if you're actually in the Azure DevOps, there are other ways in your code you could do that. Even in Git, you could actually do it in your GitHub. What's it called right now? Secret, and keep it there. So usually there are different options. It now depends on the organization to now pick or select the ones that they prefer on how to manage. Even we have secret. I think there are other open source secret as secret managers that we have as well to do all of this. So it depends. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much for the response. So thank you very much. We'll be calling on the next speaker, the third speaker. Let me bring Kolash at the backstage. So the next speaker is Olufunyo, and he will be speaking on the. Let me bring him upstairs. Hi,
Yeah,
sir.
hi, Imo.
Good evening. once again. Yeah. So he'll be speaking on autonomous cloud, building self-healing AI-driven infrastructure on Azure. Olu is a very experienced SRE engineer. He combines both SRE, cloud, and DevOps, so even development. So whenever you need all those combinations, go to Olu. He's going to feed you with all the knowledge you need. So nice to have you, sir. How is it in your end?
Very well. It's been good. Thanks, Seymour.
Okay. So I don't have much to say about you. Yeah, all what I know is that you're embodiment of knowledge, and I'm sure you're going to give us. You are going to take us to cloud nine anyway. Okay. So over to you, sir.
Very well. Thank you, and
Thank you.
good day to every of our listeners, wherever you may be joining us from. Sorry, just a quick one. Good day again to everybody, and thank you for joining us. Today, I will again be speaking to the subject of the autonomous cloud, essentially how we can build self-healing AI-driven infrastructure, particularly on Azure. The focus on this, although the methodology around this goes or spans past just implementing on Azure, but we'll be limiting our knowledge on how to get this done to just the Microsoft Azure environment. So if you have any questions at any point, please feel free to put them in the comment section, or feel free to reach out to any of the leaders or our community as a whole. We will be more than happy to take that on. Just so I am sure, Imo, can you please confirm that my slide is showing?
Bringing that
Thank
up.
you. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So for starters, Ivo did the entire background about me, just so you're familiar. I'm a senior SRE at Macrometer, and I am going to be speaking directly from my experience today on this particular subject. This is not something that I have not done or written with my hand. And this is because I think with the advent of AI, we can leverage it to have the best performance infrastructure running such that we spend less time overall firefighting and have something that is not just repeatable and scalable, but something that can heal itself in the event of incidents. A bit of more about myself, I'm pretty much a nature enthusiast, so you would find me in the mountains hiking on weekends when I'm not by the computer system. Security is also at the heart of what it is I do, so as much as possible, I would always try to infuse security into the knowledge of infrastructure, because an infrastructure environment is only as good as the security that underlines it. And thankfully, the last two speakers, they've spoken in depth, first on security and the other about IAC. So I would not, bore us with going into that, into much details around those. Just as an highlight, again, our takeaway today, not going to be the jollof rice that we see on the screen, but ultimately it is going to be more about how we can build autonomous cloud systems that first is AI driven, two, that would help us reduce incident responses, essentially firefighting from hours to seconds if possible, and three, hopefully help us to create an infrastructure that can optimize for performance. So if you would summarily want to put that into one single word, it would be that your takeaway for this topic from today would be to fix cloud problems that are built on Azure that can fix themselves. So a bit of some stats about this challenge that we face is that for every single time that you have a downtime within a data center that exceeds a minute, it costs those organizations at least $5,600 a minute whenever there is a downtime. And the most important thing also that we should note as well is that 83% of all enterprises across the globe experienced some form of service disruption in the last year. And on the average, for anybody who has been on call, who is on this call or joining this session, it takes an average of about 45 minutes if you take an average of all of the incidents that you've had to handle or resolve in production. From acknowledging to resolving, it takes an average of 45 minutes to close this out. Now, if you multiply this based on the cost of the service that has been provided, depending on your organization, you would realize that this is a lot of money that is eroding away or eating away at what the business value should be. And as a result, we should not spend our time firefighting, but overall move to the next phase of what cloud operations is, as it were. For folks who have been in the industry for long, what we've had for the most part is manual operations for the most part, which is just some systems engineer or some cloud engineer, just sitting down, investigating issues, whether with logs, and at some point, we had some sort of scripted response where essentially we have triggers that we're watching for, and then we trigger a script in response to specific incidents. And even more recently, we had much more intelligent responses, maybe driven by playbooks for people who write maybe things like KQL during their regular day-to-day activities, or you have Jupyter playbooks to respond to specific incidents. These are like intelligent responses that are machine learning driven, right? But the next phase that everybody should aspire to move on to are autonomous systems, which essentially are systems that can self-manage themselves and self-heal themselves. That is just the base of it. And in describing further what autonomous systems are, these are like the 4 pillars that I would say hold them together, right? You want a system that's able to heal itself, that's able to optimize itself where necessary, that is actively protecting itself, and can also help you ensure baseline conditions without any manual intervention from you. So regardless of what the changing conditions are within your infrastructure environment, you want systems that are able to configure this for yourself. And as a result, the one liner that came to my head that describes this effectively is that your infrastructure management is machine-driven and human-assisted. So it means machines first, human assistance comes later. The 3 that I'd highlighted previously, which is the ML, the scripted, they are more human-driven and machine-assisted because the human does most of the work. So the reverse is the case now for autonomous systems. Now, with Azure, what do we have? Azure presents us the best platform across most of the cloud providers, public cloud providers that we have. And, they give us 4 critical things that can help us achieve this. First is Azure can provide you with a full, complete observability stack across your applications, across your infrastructure, as it is deployed in the cloud. The second thing is you get native AI and machine learning integration built into all components of the Azure environment. So unlike what you have maybe as a standalone cloud service or as a standalone AI or ML service in some cases, what you get with Azure is AI and ML is built into the fabric of every infrastructure. So regardless of what services you want to use, as the first speaker highlighted when he was talking about AI security, you have the Cloud Defender. The Cloud Defender is optimized, to run intelligently, backed with native AI integration to be able to protect your environment or protect your infrastructure stack. And last but not the least as well is for your automation capabilities. Azure presents native toolings to help drive automation across everything that is related to an enterprise: documentation, infrastructure, services, applications, serverless integration, log management, response, incident response. Azure has all of those things in place. And the different tools that would help you enable, or specific tooling that would help you enable autonomy within the Azure environment. I have essentially just broken that down into 4 different parts. The first is on testing and validation, or let me go the other way around. I think I did a bit of a mix on my presentation. First, I will start with observability. And the reason why I will start with observability is that observability is the foundation of your success as an engineer, or is the foundation for your success as an engineer within the cloud environment. And it is also the foundation for the success of your infrastructure stack as deployed within the cloud environment. And as a result, if you do not have observability, then it is as good as saying that you do not have anything. And natively, Azure provides you with first Azure Monitor and Application Insights, which is it's able to give you full visibility into the performance of the application that is running, hosted on Azure. And also, if you have native applications that are running, maybe as infra deployed serverless applications within Azure in itself, you have Azure Monitor that's able to give you real-time insights into this. We also have things like log analytics. We have metrics and distributed tracing. For people who are familiar with distributed tracing, Azure has like a native open telemetry integration that helps instrument your application for performance and visibility within the cloud environment in itself. In addition to that, we have automation, we have Azure Automation, we have the functions specifically to help you manage serverless, essentially just serverless architecture. You can get that done with Event Grid. You also have logic apps, that you can use for your process automation between multiple applications that you want to have speak with each other. And in between your logic apps as well, there is a native Azure OpenAI service that is integrated into this. And essentially what it can do for you is see what process is running at point A, take in the learnings of that process, and give you back an intelligent response for how to either handle future responses, or if you want to build an automation around that, essentially it gives you a quick pathway to be able to get this done.
Sorry to cut in. Ayomide said can't see anything. Is it from our end, or can anybody watching see the screen? I can see the screen.
The screen is showing for me as well.
Yeah, I think Ayomide, it's from your side. You might need to leave and rejoin. Thank you. Continue.
Thanks, Imo. The next thing on the item is testing and validation, which is at the end of it all, you have observability, you have automation in place. You need to be able to test this. Like the last speaker mentioned, it is important. Most organizations would always have different environments. You do not want to build things, have like automation set in place and push that directly to production. You want to be able to test that in a safe and secure environment where you can see the progress it is you've measured. And, we'll see this down the line in the presentation, which is, you want to be able to actively test the changes that you're making, ensuring that these changes are well validated. Right? And in Azure, you have the Kiosk Studio to be able to do this, which first would help you essentially kiosk test your applications for people who are not familiar with this. Again, I think I should mention that this particular subject that we're speaking to may not be ideally tailored to people who are new into the industry. So if there are specific terms that I mentioned that you're not familiar with, please feel free to put your questions in the comment section and I will be happy to take that. And back to what I was saying, For the kiosk studio, you can essentially do like kiosk testing for your application, for your services that are running. You can also do effective load testing across your infrastructure stack. And last but not the least, you also have the A and B testing, which is you have environments which you can have manage your blue-green deployments, as it were. So you have one service or an infrastructure that is live and a backup infrastructure with which you can also test new features, new services that you want to roll out. And last but not the least as well, which is where autonomy comes in fully, is that Azure empowers engineers via the services that it provides on intelligence and decision making to be able to power autonomous infrastructure. And how does it do this? It gives you tools like AI Foundry. AI Foundry, for people who do not know this, is essentially an interface aggregation of all public LLMs that are accessible. So you think of your ChatGPT, your DeepSeek, models that are not native to Azure that you would typically want to use elsewhere. Azure Foundry is where you would go to within AI to essentially work with these different environments. So, if you've been working with any of these LLMs in a different workspace or have a unique account, you need not do this. You can access all of the same services within Azure, as it were. Next on the list as well is the Azure Anomaly Detector. Essentially, it does what it says. It helps you to detect anomalies wherever you find them within your services. And what does it do? It uses time series data. Think of Prometheus. That is what time series data is like, essentially timestamps with data points matched together. And what it does is it takes an historic look at the metrics that have been provided or ingested over time. And then with the learnings riding on machine learning in the background, it is able to effectively predict in the future what would happen within your environment. And as a result of this, it can proactively help you handle incidents even before they happen. So, if it sees a particular delta based on the time series data that it has ingested, saying that, hey, whenever I go maybe below -5 or whenever I go be above 30 or 60, essentially means that this application is probably ingesting more memory, or there's a possibility of a memory leak, right? At that point, what it just does for you is the moment it spots this and it notifies you, you can essentially have runbooks defined that says, whenever I go past the specific threshold, then I easily want to either do a graceful restart of my application if you're running it within a Kubernetes cluster, or I essentially want to do a bit of some scaling of the services if you're running them within a VM scale set. Next question will be, what will be the building blocks that you would require for an autonomous cloud? First that you want to have is you want to model your health, which is what is your baseline? Your baseline for your health. How do you define this? What does it mean to you? And what it means to you is heavily dependent on the type of service that you're running. So you could have 10 different services running within your infrastructure environment, and all of these 10 different services would have different health parameters. And that is why within the SRE space, we have things that have been defined as our SLOs, which again, we then bind via a contract with our customers via our SLAs, right? But our SLIs and our SLOs are like the two most important criteria that we would use to measure the health of the services that we have running within our environment. And then the last item on that list will be, having like an error budget. Error budget just tells you essentially how much bandwidth do you have to be able to make changes within this application. So I said you could define, availability for your service to say, hey, the availability that we've agreed with the customer in our SLA is at 99.99%. And as a result, you only just have an error budget of maybe 4 minutes and 32 seconds in a month to be able to make a change, right? Or, you want to have like a latency set, or your P95 latency set to less than 20 milliseconds or 30 milliseconds, right? When you have all of these objectives defined and you essentially have documented in paper what these things mean to you and how or what your baseline level should be, then you can move on to the next step, which is defining what your auto remediation should be. And in this case, your auto remediation will be built on your health, because you have said you do not want to go on your P95, you do not want to exceed 25 milliseconds in latency, right? It means that anytime that you hit the 26 milliseconds mark or 27 milliseconds mark and it exceeds a certain period of time, you can have scripts, either scripts defined for your application recovery, or you want to, if it's a situation where you're deployed within a Kubernetes cluster, you want to have maybe like a graceful restart of your system, or if it is a VM that you're running on, you want to self-heal your VM by itself. But overall, the goal is your health helps you to define how you're able to remediate incidents whenever they happen within the cloud environment. So things like having like circuit breakers within your configuration system. And next to this, when you have like this auto remediation defined, is how do you handle this at scale? That is the overall goal, right? Because as they would always say, a ship is not just built for the dock. You want to go to the high seas, right? Ride the waves and be confident that you will not sink. And what helps to do that is not going to be the manual efforts that you're going to put in, but repeated automation that can intelligently scale over time. So I have a sample YAML just right there on the screen, which is saying, for instance, we're monitoring CPU usage on a particular service. Whenever we have the threshold go past 70 and the average time of this 70% is more than 30%, is more than 30 minutes, then you don't want to do a restart, right? What you've just essentially done, if you have that configured right, is that you've moved from being reactive past being predictive, which is what the last item, our auto remediation, has done for us and our health baseline. You've then moved to the phase where you have become proactive, because at this point, whether you are sleeping or you're traveling or you're having an Owambe. For guys who are not Nigerian, Owambe essentially means a party, right? Whether you're at a party, if you have your system understand that this is the timelines that you've defined for how much it should take for your system to be able to automatically heal itself, you go from predictive to being proactive. And this would leverage more on the historic analysis of the usage patterns that we have within the environment itself, and also leverage machine learning for forecasts, which again we have highlighted previously by using what is it called now? Just give me a minute. By using our anomaly detector, right? Overall, the next item, again, which we spoke to in more details, is autonomous security as well. Because at the end of the day, whether you scale from predictive to proactive, if you do not have a secured environment, then you would be paying heavily for just having an open box where everybody can easily come to and access. So, you want to have situations like policy as code, you want to have Microsoft Defender effectively help you manage your security gaps where they may be. Now, the big question which anybody may have on their mind would be, I've heard all of this. Where do I start, right? And the first basis where you want to start from is to have a reference architecture that you want to be able to refer to before you begin all of this process. And I've broken this down into 4 different layers. First is the sensing layer. If you remember when I mentioned it previously, observability, it is at the foundation of it all. So you want to be sure that you have metrics, you have logs, you have traces being ingested across all of the services where you want to implement this self-healing process. The next thing is you want to have a bit of pattern recognition built on those metrics that you've harvested over time. Because what we're working with is we're looking at our historic data points, and from this we're defining what or how our systems should react, which is what anomaly detection is. Then we have the next layer, which is our decision layer, which is where we define our rules, essentially just using machine learning models and different engines. And then the action layer, which is what action do we take? when we've identified this pattern, our machine learning model has validated it. What action do we want to take? This is where we want to have runbooks. This is where we want to have functions. If anybody's familiar with Azure functions, this is where we want to have them. This is where we want to have scripts that are built in that the system itself can take action on. And how do we implement this in our real world environments, right? You want to start very small. The reason why you want to start very small is because you do not want to bite too big, too large to chew, right? So it is advisable to start small, identify, go through your environment, the list of the alerts that you've received in the last 30 days. What are the top 3 recurring incidents that you've seen, right? Write down effectively, first, what are the validation metrics for these alerts? Like what defines health for this particular 3 recurring alerts that we've seen? The next thing you want to do again, as we've always mentioned, implement observability. And the reason is that what you cannot measure, you cannot fix it. So how do you measure in the cloud environment? You can only measure when you have data points. Data points are only gotten from observability, right? So again, you start small, you implement observability. Then the next thing that you want to do is you want to create runbooks. So first, you want to start from human-approved automation, which is maybe engineers on your team essentially just having a bit of a checklist to say, this automation that we want to have run within this environment. For first-timers, we do not just want it to run end-to-end without any intervention, right? We want someone to be responsible for approving just to see what would run. It's just like when you want to run Terraform, right? You run Terraform init, and then you run a Terraform plan. Terraform plan essentially just shows you, hey, this is everything that will take place if you run and apply. And when you run and apply, except you pass the auto-approve flag, it comes back to you to say, hey, I require an input for me to progress, right? So it is the same thing that our runbooks essentially follow in this place, right? Which is we define our decision trees on those runbooks, and then we build our confidence as a team over time through the human intervention that we approve for this automation. And once we do this within our test environment, it gives us the confidence to be able to say, hey, engineers on my team, use this. When you have this particular runbook, run, what effect do you see? And, you create an effective feedback loop with this. This effective feedback loop essentially helps you to be able to not just have a system that is functional, but something that everybody has used, giving you feedback about, and gives you the confidence to be able to use this within your production environment. Now, in implementing, there are pitfalls that would encourage everybody to have in mind in avoiding. So you do not want to fall into these pitfalls just so you do not break the process of implementing your self-healing system within the cloud environment. And the first thing I want to do is you do not want to over-automate for starters. Again, break it down to be as simple as possible. 2, in creating your systems, please do not create black box systems. It is important that your systems are visible and can communicate with each other. However, in your communicating with each other, remember what the last speaker said, we do not want to expose secrets. It is a no-do when it comes to production services and managing the cloud. There are different tools or services that can effectively help you manage your secrets and have your services communicate with each other. So it is important that you build systems that are able to communicate with each other. And 3, you do not also want to get tired out from alert fatigue. So as much as possible, reduce the alerting noise to the barest minimum. And the last item on my list will be testing your remediation actions, right? You want to test effectively first in pre-production before you go into a customer or a live environment, right? My overall encouragement would be, please start today. Again, if you recall what the advice was, start small, but please start today. create a simple script that works, test it, validate it, and improve on it. With this, you can effectively build a system that not just works, but one that's able to effectively manage itself, gives you enough time to be able to build systems that would work and not just have you firefighting within the cloud environment. On this point, I would say thank you for listening. And if you have any questions again, please feel free to reach out to me, whether via the email or on LinkedIn as well. Back to you, Imo.
Yeah, thank you very much, Olu. That was a very fantastic presentation. I really learned a lot, and I believe the audience also do same. So thank you very much for your time and for offering to share your knowledge. You have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So audience, if you have questions for Lou, I'm going to share his LinkedIn profile so you can reach out to him. Right now, I will be bringing up the roundtable team for a discussion around the future of AI on Azure in particular. So I'll be bringing Roland Joseph on board. I'll be bringing Oloa Damilola Aremo. I'll also be bringing Kubola on board, and also have with us DME. So these are the few people we supposed to have about Promise Wachuku and Raphael, but they reach out to me that they are having some conflicting schedule. So now we are set. So leaders, what we are going to be discussing, these are familiar faces in the community in case you don't know them. So Roland Joseph is an MVP. He's a Microsoft MVP, and he's been a very leading community leader so far. We also have with us Damilola, who is also one of the leaders in the community. She recently became an MVP, so you can drop a congratulatory message to her. We also have Ambassador Bukola Isaka, who is the current leader of the community. You have been seeing him running. There have been ongoing fantastic weekly study series being anchored by Mr. Bukola. So do feel free to join. So for without much wasting of our time, let's proceed because we only have about 18 minutes left. So the question I will go around the three audience. I will be the one administering these questions. So basically, we are going to be looking at the progress that Nigerian businesses are making with Microsoft, with AI, as in respect to the Microsoft environment. Microsoft AI services are robust in nature. Based on the speaker, we have the first speaker who presented on the Defender for Cloud. Defender for Cloud is also AI-driven security tools. We also have the second speaker who spoke about security on Azure pipelines and best practices. We also have Olu, who spoke more in detail about AI automation for your infrastructure. So now we are going to just share some thought on around, learn about, hear from the leaders what they think that businesses in Nigeria and West Africa, how are they making progress by leveraging Azure AI services. So the first question will go to Damilola, and this will be on the retail sector in particular. So I have with me Adeyemi just joined. He's also going to be answering questions. So Damilola, how is the retail sector in West Africa leveraging Azure AI? Let's start from Nigeria before extending to the West African country. How do you think they are leveraging the AI services on Azure to make progress in their businesses? That's the retail sector.
Hello, everyone. So, for this question, in Nigeria or generally around the world, when we talk about retail sector, we see them using Azure AI to build recommendation engines for creating personalized shopping experiences for customer. We also have them creating customer insight. You analyze shopping patterns and preferences of customers. That way you can also give them recommendations and say, okay, we know that this is what you are always looking at, so we can recommend to you. And then demand forecasting, which is very important because every business wants to increase profitability, and this is one way that AI can help retail sectors reduce cost and increase profitability. And some of the case studies that we have in Nigeria, no name in particular, but we have like a supermarket who is currently using the demand forecasting to manage their inventory. So that what that looks like is you're using AI to see what you have in stock, to demand what people want. Maybe on a Friday, what people want to shop for. Maybe they always shop for groceries. So you want to stock more groceries and reduce some other things. That way you can increase profitability because you have more of what they need on stock and less of what they don't need, right? So that's how retail sectors are using AI, and I think Nigeria is still like an open ground for more implementation because we don't really have so much case studies right now out there on AI, Azure AI. So yeah, I think that we as engineers building stuff and even as organizations, they can really adopt Azure AI to improve recommendation for customers, drive customer insights, customer interaction, and demand forecast. That,
Okay, so thank you very much, Damilola. So the key things here from what you said is in terms of cost reduction and realizing customer insight, those are the various ways that the retail sectors might be using AI
yeah.
to make progress in their businesses. Thank you very much for that response. So the next question will be going to Roland Joseph. Looking at the SME market, that is a small and medium scale enterprises, how will you say they are benefiting from AI services provided by Microsoft Azure?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Imo, for that question. So when we were talking about SMEs, one of the key thing is that SMEs, which are small and medium enterprises, are businesses that are not very heavily on budgets. And one of the things that Microsoft has done is building a well integrated tool that allows businesses to, automate their processes. So a very good example is Microsoft has an AI studio that can help SMEs to improve their customer experiences. I mean, for instance, I know local startup companies and small businesses are using the Azure AI Studio for building smart chatbots. They also use that to personalize their email reply, also creating recommendation systems. And what this helps them to do is that it helps them to keep their costs very low while driving very good customer experiences, because I mean you don't have to go and get a large data science engineer or worrying about, oh, how do you set up an infrastructure to build a scalable AI system.
Okay, thank you very much. I like the fact that you may mention that the SMEs are low on budget, of course, and Microsoft is making wave for by making provision for the AI tools to be easily leveraged by these SMEs to make progress in their businesses and also save costs. So the next question will be on the logistics industry or logistics sectors. We all know that logistics drive the world. They convey goods from one point to another across the globe. So, Mr. Gokola, this question is for you. Now, having seeing the workload that logistics firms are carrying out, how will you, how do you think they are using AI to drive these businesses? How do you think they are using AI in their day-to-day operations?
All right. Thank you so much for having me, and good evening to you, the audience and the listeners. Um, we are aware that the transformation within the technological space is unfolding on daily basis, which has resulted into different organizations deploying artificial intelligence, deploying new technology and innovations in their operations. Looking at the issue of logistics, I'm aware of so many logistical companies in Nigeria that are trying to lay their hands on so many solutions, especially on Microsoft Azure AI, which has helped them at the long run to transform their operations, improve their efficiency, reduce cost, and enhance customer experience. I will give you some of the illustrations on how those companies are using Azure AI for predictive analytics, for route optimization. You will see that one of the greatest challenges of logistic companies is about routes, especially those logistic companies that move loads and luggages on Nigerian roads. Nigerian roads are busy and Nigerian roads are not as fantastic as expected. So predictive analytics in route optimization help logistic companies to know which route is pliable, which routes are in a very deplorable condition, which can help them to predict the likely traffic pattern at any point in time. Because, for instance, Lagos is a big city that has more than 30 million. You can imagine how many millions of people are on the road at a go. So, if a logistic company is not having a predictive analytics about how movements of their loads and luggages will go, they may run at loss. So, and those
Okay.
career services, those companies are using solutions such as Azure AI, Bing Map, and Traffic API. So they also use it for demand forecast. Demand forecast. In demand forecast, they want to check out who are making requests for their services. What are likelihood that maybe at any given point in time, maybe during the days, during the times, or during the months, what are the likely peak period and the off-season period that they can also make their services available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So, predictive analysis, which is an AI feature, can help in logistics. Um, so, this question will be going to Adeyemi. Adeyemi, we understand that Nigeria is a country that is deeply rooted in culture and diversity, and we have a lot of languages across the three major geopolitical zones: the Igbos, the Yorubas, and the Hausas. So now, I am in Nigeria. I may not understand what you said. So how can AI be leveraged to make the to break the communication barrier, whereby you happen to find yourself in a situation where you find an Igbo man, an Igbo person, and maybe someone from the Yoruba extraction who speaks Yoruba, and I do not understand or you do not understand. So how can AI be leveraged for this in context?
Okay. Hi everyone. Good evening. Hope you guys can hear me clearly.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Then. Thank you for this opportunity, Mo. So, absolutely, like you said, in a diverse community like Nigeria and beyond, like the global village itself, AI has come a long way to leverage or to come as a translator process to community to people around the world. Just like you've exemplified, if a Yoruba person or a language barrier, you find yourself in a language barrier situation, you can easily bring out your mobile phone and use probably a Google Translator as it has come to be very popular, or any kind of translator to translate what your person is saying, what the other person is saying in the other language, to translate to a language that you can easily understand and complete. So I believe AI, and I also believe coming locally, there can still be more to be done because we still have deficits in the language training elements. However, there have been a big there have been a large to when it comes to translating and AI coming into translating um, or coming into solutions for language barriers and that kind of thing.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Adeyemi. Just to add to that, so Microsoft for language barrier, kind of maybe when you find yourself in a situation where you cannot communicate clearly, so Microsoft has a solution for that, and you can leverage Azure AI Translator. It was known as Microsoft Translator before now. So in there you see text translation, document translation, custom translation, and speech translation, and also language detection tool is also there. So what the tool within the Microsoft Azure AI services, it helps in terms of and can play a huge role in a situation like Nigerian community where we have different languages and where there is barrier in communication in some cases. So you can leverage that. So we'll be moving quickly to because of our time, we won't waste time. So there are some use cases we are going to be looking at how there are some questions coming from this aspect. So we want to understand how businesses in that part of the world, Nigeria in particular, and West Africa, also some of the use cases of AI within this country, within Nigeria and West Africa as a whole. So looking at the Nigerian incident or the business space in Nigeria and West Africa. Damilola, can you give us some of the maybe a simple use case of scenario for AI in Nigeria, practical use case of AI?
All right. So, one of the sectors that's important in the Nigeria ecosystem is the energy sector, the telecommunication sector, and every sector that requires machinery. Especially when you're a generator man. But just imagine that you had like a generator company, and you have a couple of engineers that go about to service those generators for your customers. One way you can use AI here is by adding AI to your field assistant service app. So a field assistant service app is an app that enables engineers to access instructions while they're on site without getting stranded. So imagine what AI will look like when you use AI to create even better, right? So AI can help with visuals. Imagine your engineer taking pictures of the generator and then they're able to get instructions, step-step guide that, okay, this is how to fix this issue for this particular machine. That's an amazing thing, really. Also predictive guidance. So imagine you have like a database of previous issues that people can face on these machines, or maybe, excuse me.
Okay. So,
um,
but we'll help you coming in that. So, actually be leveraging, be referring to AI agents here. So, your audience, you understand that we have AI and we have AI agents. So, based on what Damilola is explaining, AI agents are those AI that takes action on behalf of you. And I will allow Damilola to buttress her point, so can call on another person.
all right, Mr. Mo, thank you. So like Mr. Mo said, AI agents are like agents that help that make work flow smoothly without human intervention, right? So in the case where you have data from previous issues, maybe energy issue that you have in a particular community, you can say, oh, this is what these people face periodically. So if you go there, or when you go there with an app, the app can say these are the likely solutions to solve this problem. So we see it giving guidance to the field engineers even without them being in the office or being able to access their colleagues. Also in terms of even voice activation, because AI can help with voice speaking. So imagine you are fixing a generator, but the AI is telling you, okay, so do this next, do that next. It makes their work easier and helps also with knowledge management. So these are like areas where in these sectors, in the energy sector, in the machinery sector, you can utilize AI agents or even AI itself.
Thank you very much, Damilola. So because of our time, we won't be taking all the questions. So I would like to just maybe we can just summarize all our thoughts around AI agents in particular. Maybe Roland will give us an overall thought around AI agents and how they are helping businesses and individuals to carry out their day-to-day activities.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I mean, so for AI,
Okay, we lost Roland there. Okay, we are back. Okay. So overall, let me come in since Roland is having issues. So overall, the audience, your take home is that should be that AI agent is here to work on our behalf. AI agent helps in automation. You heard of the third speaker who emphasized on autonomous cloud. So even on Microsoft Azure portal, we all have Copilot for Azure that is right there. Okay, Roland, we cannot still hear you. So we have Copilot for Azure that is rightly embedded on Azure portal to act as a sidecar for you when you are deploying your or troubleshooting your infrastructure. So those are a typical example of AI agent that actually did for you on your behalf. We also have a lot of AI agent use cases that are there. So on Microsoft Azure alone, there are a lot of models that you can pick and deploy out of the box models, or you can build your own custom models to serve as AI agent and help you on your day-to-day job. So we will be taking questions. In case you have questions, you can reach out to, you can drop it in the chat. We're going to send you a response via the, okay, how do I integrate into cloud security? How do I integrate into cloud security? Sure, AI agent is what, like for instance, we have already, Microsoft has already integrated AI agent into like Defender for Cloud. There are some AI agent that are embedded within Defender for Cloud that goes ahead of time to learn about your infrastructure behavior, your workloads within your environment, and then make recommendations based on the learnings you have got. So those kind of agents are actually AI agents. So you can leverage right there in your cloud security. Also, you can also build maybe write a custom model, build a custom models and integrate and plug it into your security tools, and then that takes action on your behalf. So these are various ways you can use. You can easily plug in AI agent into your work, into your security workload. Does that answer your question? So in case there's any other question, you can write to the community page on LinkedIn. You can also follow us. Don't forget to stay up to date, connect with us on LinkedIn, and also connect with us on X and also on our meetup page. Stay ahead of time with our community event and all that. So I will leave the floor for the community leader, current community leader, who is Mr. Bokola, to offer us the final word. Then we close for the day. Thank you. Bokola.
All right. Thank you so much, our audience, for joining us for this Global Azure 2025. Like the anchor of the program said, Mr. Imo, that we have a lot of study series. One is coming up tomorrow and next tomorrow. For every weekends, we have different study series. One's on Saturdays and another one on Sundays. The one on Saturdays is between the hours of 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. West Africa time, which is focused on technical training solutions. And the one on Sundays is focused on technical on their soft skills, which is between the hour of 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. West African time. So thank you for being part of this series. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bukola. Hi, audience. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye. Bye. How often can we have this meeting? So we usually have, like Bukola has said, we have a session tomorrow. We have a session next tomorrow. So basically, it's happening next weekend, but Global Azure Bootcamp happen yearly. So it's a yearly thing. So you expect another edition of Global Azure in 2026, around this time to be precise. Thank you. Bye bye.